that are with our characteristics here in Ithaca.
Tom, just to continue with Gary's question, if you find a tree and it has a branch like that, is it effective to cut that branch off, or is it already too late? The callers are everywhere else, or don't you just find a single branch like that, or what?
It is effective to control it by cutting off this branch. And if you have a small tree like this, it doesn't hurt to do that. You might kill the tree because you're going to cut off all the branches. But by the time it gets to this state, you've already gone through at least 1 year infestation. And that 1 year's infestation, one individual can produce 40,000 eggs. So it's going to be more widespread.
So it's not very effective.
So you might feel better about it. But I'm not saying that it's not ineffective. I think you'd have to not only cut the branches, but probably the whole trees within a general area. Yes?
Because this bug doesn't go through a sexual stage, does that mean that all the progeny are identical to each other, meaning that there's no susceptibility to pesticide tolerance or...
Well, if you go backwards a little bit,
well,
yes.
Because through sexual selection you get, you get variety, you get variation in the offspring.
Mm-hmm.
So if these are producing identical daughters, then in fact there's no, this is sort of a biological question, there's no potential for building pesticide tolerance.
Oh, contraire.
So
Sexual reproduction is one way to build in, to change a genotype, but so is mutation. And the mutation rate in these insects, it's been proven with the balsam woolly aphid. Actually, the balsam woolly Adelgid, imported from Europe in 1938 into Nova Scotia and Maine on nursery stock. Nobody thought it would get into the interior. Nobody thought it would come over the Cascade Mountains, where I'm from, in the west. And I did my research on this early. And 30 years later, there it was, in the colder areas that they said, oh, there won't be any survival. And so that's one of the reasons I'm looking at the Hemlock Wooly Adelgid in relationship to temperature, because I feel that it's a very definite thing. The mutation rate will be sufficient to allow it to develop tolerance. But right now, I have no evidence, and so I'm not going to go out on the plank and consider that. But it's definitely a potential.
The term Adelgid, what's that?
It's the family Adelgidae. It's just a name for it. They used to call it the balsam woolly aphid. That's a lot easier. Hemlock Wooly Aphid, that would be really easy, right? But no, it's the Adelgid now.
So it's like the woolly aphid you see moving on the branches on the deciduous trees. It's related.
No, it's not. No, these settle and they stay in one spot, and they produce the waxy stuff. They don't move at all. They stay in that one spot, and if they're dislodged, they're dead. They can't go anywhere else. So in the wintertime, before they produce eggs, you can take these and move them around, and if they fall off the branch while it's moving around, they'll die.
Is that true of the whole Adelgid family?
With the Adelgids, yes. That's what they do. That's their thing. There was more questions. Yes.
Oh, I was wondering, in order to determine that a stand of hemlocks has not been infected, you would have to examine each tree, wouldn't you? And
That would definitely be the best thing to do. Because the infestation we found over in Watkins, in the Finger Lakes National Forest, it was actually in an area of about 20 to 30 acres. We found 20 trees that were right next to a stream, in this one small spot. We did about 100% cruise of that stand. And so if we had done a lesser cruise, we might have missed that infestation. And I think it's really important to catch those. So my recommendation is, if you have a stand of hemlock, look at every single tree and spend a few minutes at it. 10, 15 minutes maybe at the most. Be sure you've looked at the lower branches very thoroughly.
how close do they have to be to infect another stand? I mean, how close should they?
Well, thank you. It's wind and birds, and deer, and it's hard to say. That one of the reasons we feel the distribution might be along the shoreline is because the birds like to go up and down the shorelines. They use that as a migration route, and they'll touch up and down. Yes.
Based on what you told us about the Adelgid and its preference, it seemed like once you cut the tree down and cut off the flow of sap up the tree, that it would no longer be a attractive place for further Adelgids to develop. And so if they did try to go on that cut down tree, they wouldn't make it through their life cycle.
You know, that's what I've been thinking about. And you know, it takes a while for the tissue to die in the tree and to become unpalatable. I doubt you would get, my experience with bark beetles, you cut down a tree, they'll continue to develop. Food's still good. And whether, it depends on when you cut it down, how long it takes for the tree to degrade its food quality so that it won't be able to reproduce. That's the ultimate question, and I can't answer that question. I haven't done any experiments at all on that. And I don't know of anybody, I have not read anything specific to that, I should say. But, you know, yes, the potential is there. You cut down the tree, it's going to degrade, that's it. The question is, how long does it degrade, and will they be able to reproduce? And did you cut it down before it degrades and they will be unable to reproduce? Did that make sense?
Or they get moved by deer,
No.
or whatever. Or they get moved by deer or whatever. I mean, you have to get rid of the tree. Wouldn't you?
If it's like in December, when it's just filled full of early, filled full of larvae and not reproductive adults, then you could take down the tree and you could move it wherever you wanted, and anything that fell off of it wouldn't be able to reestablish or reproduce. It's only like now and maybe, you know, through May that you really got to worry about it, because you just don't know when they're producing eggs and the dispersal stage, the first instar crawler. That's what you have to avoid.
And what's the second cycle then? You said there are 2 cycles?
There are 2 cycles.
So when is the next time that you wouldn't want to do that?
In June, you're right. Thank you. I forgot to mention that. How embarrassing.
It caught on video.
Yeah. There, this is it. So you see, yeah, you're right. It's like in April, May, and then in early June, early July. And it's going to be, they're going to, because of temperature differentiating, you get all different life stages present at the same time. Yes?
Seems like a fairly straightforward experiment that could be done right now would be to cut some infested branches off at this point, well, before the Adelgid has laid its eggs, and see if they go ahead and lay eggs.
Yeah, that's it would be dependent on the size of the branch and all sorts of things. Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not going to do it though. I have other things. I'm sorry. Yes, any more? Yes, Jackie.
Hi. I'm thinking I'm going to have to talk to people about economic impact, and we all know about insurance and fallen trees and ruined cars and stuff. But if we have a stand of hemlock trees, I don't really know their economic value as a tree in general anyway, but can the trees be harvested and turned into lumber or firewood or something?
Yeah, they
As
can.
long as the branches aren't moved, those trees can be harvested.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why. The Adelgid does nothing to degrade the timber quality of the tree unless you leave it up after it's dead and it gets infested with secondary beetles, wood-boring beetles. They will degrade the wood quality and they will introduce staining fungi into the wood. So the best thing to do is to get them at the very earliest stages.
But that's not practical in the gullies.
That is a very good point. You want to have one of the best loggers in the world come by if you're got gully.
Well, not only that, you'd have all the erosion and all everything working water.
You'd have erosion with the tree falling down anyway.
Which is one of the reasons that's where our hemlock trees are predominantly still found. You know, they were part of our forests in the uplands as well, but a lot of them have already been removed and logged.
So, did everybody get a chance to look at the next big invasive beast that we have approaching us? The emerald ash borer You'll be hearing a lot more about this in the future. I just wanted everybody to be aware of the importance of not transporting firewood. Spread the word, don't transport firewood. That's how these things have been spread throughout the Midwest, up into Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, down to Washington, D.C., down to southern Missouri, all from the initial infestation in Detroit. And it's been a very short period of time and not enough information